So many systems are on the verge of collapse. If you just look around the world right now, look, we have the political system in America, right? Seems like it's on the verge of collapse because democracy isn't working anymore since leftists refuse to participate in uh the democratic process, which means you go to the voting booths and you elect, you vote for the person you want, and then whoever wins, you respect that winner and you cede power to that representative. That whole system is broken, which is actually kind of interesting because the system of representative government, I believe, is obsolete. And this is really the subject of this podcast, that this whole idea that we all go to the voting booths and we try to put somebody in power to make decisions for us, decisions about how to rule over us. I think that entire idea is obsolete. I think it is about to be overthrown in terms of human history. I mean, maybe not this year or next year, but in a big picture point of view, over the next decade or two, perhaps, that whole system seems like it's on the way out. And why? Well, because everybody's connected now. Everything can be local. People want to make decisions about their own lives at a local level. They don't want some distant bureaucrat telling them what to do. In essence, more and more people are becoming pro-liberty people. They're becoming pro-10th Amendment type of people, meaning the decentralization of federal power and the distribution of redundant, self-sustaining systems of control down to the local level. And I think that's actually the future. I mean, I should say I hope that's the future of humanity, because why do we need representatives in Washington anyway? Why do we need a central federal tax authority to take money from all of us and then spend it in ways that we don't approve? That whole model seems insane to awake, aware people now. It seems like it would make more sense that, if we pay taxes, let's say, that we should be able to decide where those taxes go. Wouldn't that be very interesting and totally different? Imagine if the federal law was, let's say, you have to pay a 20% flat tax on your income, but you get to decide where those taxes go. You can designate how much to the Pentagon or zero if you don't want to support the Pentagon. You can designate how much to Social Security, how much to welfare. You know what I mean? You can designate. Well, that would put the power back in the hands of the people rather than the bureaucrats, and that's something the bureaucrats can't tolerate. They have to maintain power. They have to try to maintain their central system of control, and the people hate it. And the people are waking up to the fact that is a bad system. I think we're looking at the final days of the United States of America as we know it. And I've talked about this before. I think that President Trump may be the last president of the United States as it is structured today. I think he will win re-election in 2020. But by 2024, I think that there are, in many ways, we won't recognize the country that exists then as being the same USA that we know now. And by that, I mean we could see secession. We could see the rise of martial law in response to radical left-wing terrorism, right? We could see that. There are many things we could see that wouldn't be recognizable by today's citizens. We could see states like California actually refusing to submit to federal authority. That's essentially secession. But what if it happened at the grassroots level? What if all the taxpayers of California just said, nope, we're not going to pay taxes to the IRS in Washington because we don't agree with President Trump? Now, you may think that would be crazy and that would be illegal, but at a bigger level, I mean, it would be illegal. Imagine if all the taxpayers in California suddenly became tax protesters, right? They would be violating the law. But if they did it in large enough numbers, what are you going to do? Arrest every citizen, every taxpayer in California? Really? Probably not. It would actually be an interesting thing because it would be a statement to say, we want local control. We are tired of a federal bureaucracy. Now, leftists love federal bureaucracies when it's their president in charge. When it's Barack Obama or someone like Hillary Clinton, they love it because they want a central authoritarian figure to rule over conservatives all across the country and to tell conservatives how they must live their lives. But suddenly, when President Trump is in the White House, they're not so keen on that. They don't like that idea very much. Suddenly, they become more pro-liberty. Isn't that interesting? Suddenly, they're in favor of decentralization of federal authority. And in that way, their awakening, the leftists, is healthy. It's healthy for them to see the tyranny of federal government, because if there's something that we should all be able to agree on, it is that a central federal authority asserting control over our lives, even via the FDA and the FTC and, the USDA and all these agencies, it's tyranny for all of us, regardless of our political affiliation. Tyranny to the left, tyranny to the right, tyranny for all the independents, and so on. And this is why it's actually good to have Trump in the White House, because for many reasons, but one reason is so that leftists can wake up and realize, hey, this whole system can be overbearing or work in ways that they don't want it to work. And so the answer is not to just put another Barack Obama in the White House. He was disastrous. The answer, really, for all of us, regardless of our political affiliation, is to dismantle this overbearing system of false authority that sits on top of us all and is rather tyrannical against all citizens, all Americans. The answer is smaller government. So smaller government means less tyranny from a central authority. And if you eliminate the entire system of representational government, then you have much smaller government and you have more local government. And again, how many people vote for a senator and vote for a congressperson, and then that person gets elected, goes to Washington, and then utterly violates everything that they promised during their campaign? And by the way, there are a lot of leftists who have been caught on video now saying that, privately saying that they're going to vote in a totally different way than what they're promising voters, but they need the votes. They need the more moderate votes. I think Claire McCaskill of Missouri is one of those who has been caught on video saying things like that, and others in other states. But they have to lie to their voters to get elected, because when they go to Washington, they vote in a way that contradicts their promises. Well, that just underscores the lunacy of representational government in the first place. Why shouldn't we just have the people be able to vote directly? If the people could vote directly, then and get the senators out of there and get the members of the House out of there, then let qualified people vote directly. Of course, you're going to have some kind of basic literacy test, like, can you read? Can you do simple math? Do you have logic still functioning in your brain? So you have to have some kind of qualification. But if voters could just vote directly on everything, every potential law, legislation, whatever, then we couldn't be stabbed in the back by these representatives. And that's really what we need. And that's, I think, the realization that more and more people are coming to, that this entire structure of society, of so-called democracy, is so corrupt. There's so many special interests, so much bribery of lawmakers taking place that real Americans never really get a chance to be represented. And their voice doesn't even count anymore. And I think that people are sick of that. As democracy in America continues to be rejected by the political left, we may see more and more calls for really comprehensive reform that could change the entire structure of what we know. And if there's a collapse and a rebuilding of society, then the rebuilding of society could take place in the image of an entirely new idea of participatory democracy. But we also still need a Bill of Rights, of course, because you can't let the lunatic mob overrule individual liberties. And so one of the legitimate roles of government is to protect the individual from the mob. And that's what the Bill of Rights is all about. So you can't have a situation where just because the majority of insane lunatics votes to take away everyone's right of self-defense, you can't allow the lunatic mob to take away the right of self-defense. The right of self-defense has to be something that is eternally protected, and that every individual has that right, regardless of what the mob wants. So there are many issues to think about here, but overall, I think that the system of government under which we're living now is on its last legs. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, participate in the system that we have, by the way. Go out and vote. We need to continue to protect freedom and liberty using the system we have until a different system comes along. So thanks for listening. Mike Adams here. You can hear more of my podcasts at healthrangerreport.com. You can watch at real.video. Take care.
Learn more at healthrangerreport.com.
Thank you for watching. If you want to support our mission, visit us at healthrangerstore.com for the world's largest selection of lab-verified superfood and nutritional products for healthy living. It's at healthrangerstore.com.